My lords, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the invitation to speak today. I have to say, sitting at the top table is a bit like being in the upper chamber of the House of Lords with so many of my colleagues there. Lord Condon, your current president, but I think finishing today. Sir Keith Povey, your president-elect, huge sort of experience and background, police careers. Lady Hennig, chairman of the Security Industry Authority. Lord Sheik, chairman and chief executive of the Camford Law. Baroness Harris of Richmond, who I saw earlier, but I can't see her because the lights are in my eyes now. Lurking over there, lovely. Stuart Loudon, the BSI chairman. John Bates, BSI chief executive. Well, he's gone now, but I was going to say Bruce George. He comes to the meal and disappears. I noticed this for dinner yesterday. But he'll say he's having a vote, I'm sure. Yeah, it's a very great pleasure to be here. I congratulate the association on 40 years of working for the security industry, and also huge congratulations to all those who got those very well-deserved awards. Really some quite impressive young people, and I thought that was wonderful. I noticed the photographer taking these shots. It brings to mind the fact that I, of course, have gone from this transformation. I was First Sea Lord, which is the most wonderful title. I loved it in Japan. They translated it to Shogun of the Ocean, which I thought was rather special and rather nice. And of course, I became a goat, one of the government of all the talents. And I never thought goats would be an endangered species, but they seem to be now. But of course, one had wonderful things happen when one was First Sea Lord. In 2005, and the photographer brought this to mind, I was in Glasgow laying a wreath and planting a tree with the Lord Provost of Glasgow, a marvellous woman called Liz Cameron, and it was the launch of the year of the bicentenary for Nelson, a huge, fantastic year actually, a very successful year. And we had all of the media there, all of the mainstream television, we had all of the press, goodness knows what, a great circle of people, and we were planting our trees. And suddenly the Lord Provost said, "Never take a woman from below." And I was a little taken aback, and I leant on my shovel and I said, "I beg your pardon, Lord Provost." And she stood up and said, "First Sea Lord, I was speaking to the photographer. You may do as you wish." Anyway, I'm afraid such interesting things don't happen to me so much now as a goat, I have to say. Moving on to some of the more serious matters which I cover. In late March, and I know a lot of you will be aware of this because you follow these things very closely, we published Contest 2, the revision of our counter-terrorist strategy, which still stands under the 4 strategic pillars of pursue, which is stopping and arresting terrorists, prevent, to stop people becoming terrorists, protect, which is actually strengthening our protection against terrorism, and prepare, which is really so that we get all our emergency services, the police and all the others, right down from Cobra down to all the levels to actually respond when these incidents happen. So those 4 strands were still there. But the refreshed strategy did a lot more than that. It went into a lot of very important detail. It drew on all the lessons we've learned over the last 4 years or so, but particularly the last 2 years. The focus on prevent was much greater than it had been in the past, because I have no doubt whatsoever that we cannot arrest and protect our way out of this issue. We actually have to stop people becoming extremists, becoming radicalized, and I think that was extremely important. And I see it very much as a manual, in a sense, and a template for a lot of people who are involved in counterterrorism. And if you haven't read it, those who haven't read it, I really would recommend you reading it. And it falls out of very neatly the national security strategy. We produced our second one of those this year. Again, a much, much more enhanced one, a very useful template and base plate for the way all of our security issues are addressed. So Contest comes out of it. We introduced the first ever cyber security strategy for this country. I was made the cyber security minister. I'm going to get a Flash Gordon outfit when I appear in that mode. We produced the first thing on serious organized crime in terms of how we would tackle that. These things are all falling out of, as will the defense white paper. And I have to say, I talk about this as a template because I'm a great believer, actually. In some ways, you have to centralize some things, but I like saying to people, look, this is the head mark, this is where we're going, and then let the people who really know what they're doing get on and do it. I think I had a little example of it today with the photographs. I was told there's a cross on the stage, stand on it. So being a good naval officer, I did as I was told and stood on it. Then when the first photographs were going, it wasn't quite in the right position, because actually what they wanted was they wanted the logo between the two of us when we had the photo. Now, if someone had said, Lord West, get the logo between the two of you when we take the photos, I would have made sure that happened. And I think that's a lovely example of mission command rather than centralized command. And I think that's the way we should approach these things. So, as I say, I see this as a document that you can utilize in that sort of way. And of course, the BSIA has published its paper, Contest and the Private Security Industry. I think that's a good document. My team wrote an excellent document. I'm very wary at giving out excellence, but I think it is a very good document. It summarizes the importance of Contest to BSI members, expressing the BSIA's support for Contest, and showing your new logo as a BSI member supporting Contest. And for that I'm very grateful. I think it is very important. What I have found going around the world, and I've done a certain amount of traveling, is that our counter-terrorist strategy, Contest 2, is seen as an exemplar. It's seen as the best strategy any country has. And I think we should be proud of that, and we need to utilize that and make use of it as we move forward. And I'm very grateful for the paper you produced. It was the initiative, I think, of David Evans. I'm not sure. I think that's who it was. And David is also, of course, industry co-chair of the Olympics Industry Advisory Group, and he supports the OSCT, the Office of Security and Counterterrorism, which is in the Home Office, and the focus for all of our cross-government and cross-UK counterterrorism work. And I'd like to thank David very much for his assistance in that. Just on the Olympics and that side of things, I did speak to some of you, I think, fairly recently on that, and work goes on. Next week we are actually producing the unclassified version of our strategic document for Olympic security. This is another hat I have, is a responsibility for the Olympic security and safety.